Hello, this is Novels and Beats podcast, and I am your host, Chizoba Katie. Hello, Naber, how you doing? So today we'll be continuing on the story we started in the last episode, and that is Restore Me by J.L. Seegers. So where we left off in the last episode, we had it that Sloane and Dominic had this moment where he was kind to her. This is somebody that has been mean to her from the first time they met. Now, rewind back to college, freshman year of college, 12 years ago, where they met for the first time, according to her, in Eric's dorm room. Sloane was dating Dom's best friend, Eric. So, Eric went to Eric's dorm room because Eric wanted to get his laundry done, and Eric was there. He witnesses this awful call she has with her mother. Her mother is a narcissistic woman. Just because Sloane cut loose for one night, her mom's attention pecked up. Like, why could I not reach you for that one night? What are you becoming? Are you growing nerves or something? So that one night happened months ago. Sloane can't even remember details of it. Meanwhile, Eric leaves to get his laundry done, and she's lying alone. Sloane is lying alone on his narrow bed, trying to calm down from just the agitation that her mom's call caused. Her eyes are closed. She hears a key turn in the lock. Heavy footsteps follow it. She thinks it's Eric that has come back, and they're in the middle of trying to make out before he left. So she now says, oh, let's continue where he left off. But it's not Eric. And it's Eric's best friend and roommate, Dominic. And this is the first time Sloane is meeting him. And she's not like, oh, you could have said it's not Eric. Why did you make me think it was Eric? And he's looking at her like, who do you think you are? Do you think the whole world revolves around you? He now had to tell her that he's had the room to himself the last few months because Eric has been spending more time in her room. Sloane is that rare freshman that has a dorm room to herself because of her mom's influence. So Eric has been spending most of his time in her bed. And the way Dom treats Sloane on this first meeting, he's adversarial, completely ignoring Sloane when Eric shows up. He only acknowledges her with a hat stare when they're leaving. And back in the present moment, after that day that Dominic helped Sloane in the club, when somebody was trying to sexually harass her, and he saw her get home safely, did not drive off until her room light was on, she sent him a text message that read, I know you said don't mention it, but I have to say it again, thank you. This message was sent on Saturday, but it's Tuesday right now, and Dom has read that message 1,000 times, but he hasn't replied. He's not even sure how to reply. Now he's in a meeting where Sloane and the client, James, is in, because Dom is a contractor of that work, Sloane is interior decorator, and the client who hired them for all of this is James. Now, three of them are having a meeting, but Dom is still so lost in that text message that he's not even following what's being said. He recalls Saturday and how the darkest part of him came out to play just to protect Sloane. Now, the reason they even have each other's numbers at all, because it's weird, right? These two hate each other, so how do they have each other's number? Well, after Eric died 4 years ago, Mama, that is Eric's mother and Sloane's mother-in-law and a second mother to Dominic, who's been in Eric's life for so long, was like, I'll feel better if all of you have each other's phone numbers and can reach each other if anything happens, goes south. So for that reason, both of them were forced to have each other's numbers. But for 4 years, it's as good as it's just one random contact on my phone until this day, that day that Sloane sent him a message to thank him for helping out at the club. So now the meeting ends and James approaches Sloane to ask her out for dinner. Dom deliberately hangs back, watching them to see what would be Sloane's response. And Sloane actually says no. She doesn't even consider James's request. She just says, no, I'm busy, I'm sorry. No. Now Dom asks for a word with Sloane and James walks off. So it's just Dom and Sloane right now. And they easily fall into their familiar banter. You know, that we're enemies banter. Now, Dominic that brings up the text message that Sloane sent him. And Sloane now says, and here I was thinking you hadn't paid your phone bill. I guess being an asshole trumps decency every day of the week in your world. Because you did not answer the text message. You did not do like you saw it. That means you just like being one mean person unnecessarily. Then he now just retorts, well, they don't call me asshole Alexander for nothing. Sloane, she just halts in her tracks like, you actually know what we call you behind your back. So in the process, because she's wearing a jacket, she's wearing a suit and, you know, a jacket like, a camisole inside and wearing a jacket on top. So she's now trying to gesture, like lifts her hand to put against her forehead, like, please, having a new nickname at your age is going to go to your head. But in that process, her jacket hand slides down her wrist and reveals a purple bruise there. Dom does not even know when he automatically just reaches for her hand, and she lets him. She now claims that, it doesn't hurt anymore. But Dom is feeling rage, like hunting down the person who dared to hurt Sloane. As for Sloane's lunch plans, she tells him that, well, my best friend Mallory, she has a day off. That means I'm just going to eat by myself at my office and make corrections to the project there. Dom now blots out, we could have lunch together and, discuss the project. She thinks it over, and that just gives Dom a measure of satisfaction, because when James asked her to dinner, she didn't even think about it at all. But she's thinking, considering his own. Now, Sloane is thinking, I must be so insane. Why am I taking up Dom on his suggestion? And worse, why is he smiling at me? Because Dom is smiling at her for the first time ever. And it seems like after that one touch on Saturday, when he had to, draw her out of that man's grip, put her behind him and defend her and everything, he's been touching her face, touching her wrists, and now he puts his hand on her back when he's walking with her to his car. And he's doing it like he's been doing it since forever. And she hesitates to enter his car, and he's like, listen, if you don't enter that car right now, I will carry you inside myself. And he follows through on that threat. Quote, when I don't move, he releases a low growl and swoops down, lifting me off the ground with ease. His large hands grip my waist securely, but his touch is gentle as he twists to place me in the seat and slams the door. Now, when he goes to sit on the driver's side of the car, he hooks her seatbelt, invading her personal space before pulling back. She doesn't ask where he's going to, and she's surprised when he brings out her favorite cafe. She's even more surprised he knows her preferred dessert. Their relationship improves after that day, but Dom looks to have murder in his eyes, like, I'm going to kill someone. Look, whenever James is around, especially one day like that James forced a kiss on Sloane's lips, and Dom walked in on that. Friday comes quickly, and this is the day that she had agreed with her mom that she's going to come and see her parents, because her mom called her on Sunday morning and said, your dad wants to see you. But Sloane couldn't see them that Sunday because she has an arrangement with Saint Mama, that is Eric's mother, every Sunday for dinner. So she couldn't go to see them that day and said, hey, let's reschedule. And this is that Friday. And she's there in the car trying to just prepare herself mentally to meet her mother when her dad knocked on her car window. Her dad is a handsome lawyer in his 50s. And the thing is, her parents are affectionate towards each other, so it seems her mother, Lauren, only reserves her criticism for Sloane. Her mom now starts telling Sloane, you should have called before coming, just in case I had changes in my schedule. Excuse you? This woman and her narcissism, eh? Now, while Sloane and Mark, her father, are making dinner, just bonding over that, Lauren conveniently gets a call that lasts until dinner is ready. That means she doesn't assist them at all. And when she comes down for dinner, she changes into fresh set of clothes, socialites until the end. Now, when Mark now starts asking, so Sloane, what's the recent work you've been up to? James's name comes up. Now, James is the son of her parents' friends. That is, James is a rich kid like Sloane is, so that means their parents move in similar circles. And then when Lauren hears that, like, hears James's name come up, Lauren is interested. Are both of you dating? I mean, both of you should totally be dating. And Sloane is angry when her mom mentions this. And her mom just takes such sick pleasure from seeing Sloane upset about it and sips on her wine and now says, I remember Eric's funeral well. This is Lauren talking, Sloane's mother. I'll never forget the spectacle you made of yourself, shouting and crying at the top of your lungs like the world had ended, embarrassing everyone there. I also remember that it was 4 years ago, which means you've had more than enough time to put away your pity party decorations. I'll move on with your life. Hopefully this time you choose someone in your league. This is shocking. Yet saying this thing about your daughter's late husband, like, it is wrong on so many levels. Sloane feels shock, anger, frustration, hurt. All these emotions are just warring inside her. Her father asked Lauren to apologize, like her mother to apologize. Her mom won't. Sloane grabs her things and leaves, not touching her meal plates that her father lovingly put together for her. She drives home with tears in her eyes, only to arrive there, and Dom is sitting on her front steps. Whoa, why is Dom sitting on my front steps? Now, Dom only knows insanity brought him out here. He twisted James' hand Sloane was not there, and warned James not to ever touch Sloane without her permission again. So James thinks, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know she's your best friend's wife. You know, your late best friend, his wife, and I know you're protecting her. I'm sorry, I won't do that again. He does not know that it goes beyond she's my best friend's wife. She's freaking the woman he is obsessed with. Now, Dom noticed Sloane's tear-rimmed eyes. When she notices that he's noticing it, she snaps on a mask because they're not close. So she cannot afford to show him how vulnerable she is. They've had a week of being cordial to each other, but that has been all there is. He now lies that he's here to collect the number of marble vendor. And she now says, that's strange. He now tells her, yes, I tried to reach you on the phone, but the phone battery is dead. She now said, oh, that's true. I forgot to charge it on my way to my parents. Like, she went to her parents. And the moment she mentions her parents, that gives him the clue that it's probably her mother that made her cry, because he's aware of her tumultuous relationship with her mother. Now, she hesitates to invite him in because she needs to at least charge her phone to get the number of the marble vendor guy, right? But he needs to come inside so that her phone can power up a bit. And she's just hesitating. But at the end of the day, she's like, okay, fine, come on in. The house that Sloane lives in is a different house from the house that she shared with Eric when he was alive. She moved out of the house that they lived together a year after his death. That whole grief thing, surrounded by his stain, so, you know, better for her to just leave that environment. Dom remembers college when he took drunk Sloane back to her dorm room. That's a memory that only he has. She doesn't remember that night at all. So now when they walk into her house, it's an interior designer's house from Dom's perspective. It's like her. And it feels wrong to Dom on some levels that there is no trace of Eric here at all. And he's also glad in a way that Eric isn't here to see how Dom is breaking all the rules where his wife is concerned. The way they keep referring to Eric as though he's alive. I mean, the dude is dead, but I get loyalty in some ways, right? Dom gets mad at himself, like, why am I even thinking so much about what Eric would want and what he would not want? Whereas it's Eric that broke the rules first. He sits across from Sloane in Sloane's kitchen. She passes him water, and she doesn't seem eager to throw him out when her phone comes on. Now, Sloane is hesitant to open up to Dom. And he's tempted to tell her, heck, you can open up to me because I know a lot of things about you. I helped your husband pick out the ring you're wearing because she's still wearing her late husband's ring. Dom was her husband's best man. He was paining his chest, but he slapped on a smile on his face. And Dom just simply let both of them be. Like, he did not try to tear apart Eric and Sloane because he felt, okay, both of them were good fits for each other. And Eric had such a calming effect on Sloane. Now, please be reminded, this is a all black cast. Everybody in this story, they're black characters. So you can imagine black actors, black people you know, because all of them are black people, okay? One is still hesitating to open up to Dom, but the way he's just calmly watching her seems to crack her open. She now opens up about what happened at her parents' home. He goes to her side, opens his arms, and gives her a chance to be hugged. While he's hugging her, he says angel. And that's familiar. That's from 12 years ago on a summer night. And she cannot remember who said it or the situation around it, but it just feels familiar. She now says, hey, your niceness is going to make me stop calling you a-hole Alexander. Now, in his mind, he now says, careful, angel. You might just prefer the asshole to what you've awakened. As per, what have you awakened? Okay. Now, 12 years ago, we see things from Dom's perspective. He was seated outside at the back of the house, of this frat house, where a party was raging inside. And this angel, he doesn't know, comes to sit in his lap. And she has shadows in her eyes he can identify with. You know, having come from an abusive background, narcissistic father and everything. And she has a narcissistic mother. So they kind of have some places where they connect. So they exchange names. And that's how he knows that this angel sitting in his lap, her name is Sloane. And she now tells him about her list. Number 1, get drunk for the first time. Check. Number 2, wear a dress short enough to make a stripper blush and go to a party. Check. Number 3, shake my ass for the sexiest guy at the party. Number 4, go home with that guy and spend the night in his bed doing everything but sleeping. Now, this list should make Dom run, but he doesn't. He sees the list for what it is. He now says, this list isn't about you. It's about proving something to someone else. So why don't you just tell them to go screw themselves and move on with your life? Sloane now says, she just see it as confirmation that she's been right about me all along. Her twisted mind will find a way to make her the victim. So they're talking, Sloane and Dom, and in the process, he realizes that he's falling for a girl he met at the first college party he's attended. It's just all sorts of cliche, and doubts are screaming at him. So they danced like she wants, and the friends that she came to this party with, she doesn't know where they are, and her phone is dead, so she can't even reach them. And she's so drunk. When she nearly falls a third time, he has to cradle her in his arms. They both leave the party so that he can take her back to her dorm, and she just gives them directions there. And she's staring at him. He now says what? She just says nothing. He's just a little too nice for a guy that screams trouble. Why is he giving off nice vibes? So when they get to her room and she's expecting he's probably going to jump into the action, he just helps her brush her teeth, tucks her into her bed, kisses her forehead, leaves a note by the side of her bed and leaves. And he leaves believing that their love story is going to start the next day and nothing is going to keep him from her side, her bed. But what does he know? It's still Eric that somehow got the girl. So how did that happen? How did everything go from being so hopeful to Eric ending up with a girl? So now in the present, Sloane and Dom, they're getting along to everyone's shock. Mama. This is them at the weekly Sunday dinner. Now he gets cake for her. He sits beside her after getting the cake from her. She accepts the cake with a thank you. And he says, "You're welcome, Sloane." And she is so surprised he can actually form the words. Dom now says, "Hey, I'm capable of doing a lot of things with my mouth." And she doesn't know where she does this comeback of, "Yeah, I'm sure Kristen is more than satisfied with your mouth capabilities." Kristen is Dom's ex-girlfriend, turned friends with benefits. Like, they broke up, but somehow they found themselves like getting together every now and then. And the reason why Sloane even brought this thing up is that she wanted to just do a smart-ass comeback. But it's a dumb mistake, because she thinks, oh my gosh, perhaps it's too early in our almost friendship for me to be making sexual jokes. But Dom is extra because his rough fingers grip her chin, turn her head. They make her face him. He has this amused expression on his face. And he just said, probably just as satisfied as James is with yours. As for Kristen is as satisfied with my mouth capabilities as much as James is satisfied with your mouth capabilities. Which means if you're not doing James, I am not doing Kristen. And as he says this thing, his eyes are on her mouth. He swipes the side of her mouth for icing, brings the icing to his lips and sucks it off. That's just like, so, dude, what are you doing? Now they're interrupted by Eric's younger cousin, who wants Dom as part of a basketball team like that, but all of them are doing, they're playing basketball together. So they want Dom to kind of equalize the two teams and go. Now, Sloane doesn't want it to be said that she's having an affair, and with Eric's friend of all things, and in his mother's house. So they both see that as a good opportunity to just kind of like separate, because this thing is happening at Mama's house, where anybody can see both of them and be like, is there anything happening between both of you? So now Sloane goes to see her therapist, because she's been seeing a therapist since Eric's death, and her therapist says, well, I think the thing you're feeling for your husband's best friend, it's skin hunger. Apparently, it's a normal reaction to not receiving the amount of loving human touch you desire for an extended amount of time. So that's probably why you're attracted to Dom. So if you can maybe start going out, start dating, you start receiving that same amount of reaction from other men, it's going to propel the reaction you're feeling to Dom. Sloane can't even talk to Mal about it because she feels that Mal is going to accuse her. Like, why are you falling in love with Eric's friend? Are you sure you were not even having a thing for him when Eric was alive? So she's just trying to avoid all of that, which makes her not confide in her best friend. Sloane has not been able to move on from Eric's death because the fear she feels really is the same way she did on the morning of Eric's accident. The way her heart just lodged in her chest is forcing her brain to shift gears. And she doesn't think that tacking on thoughts of Eric after her internal monologue about Dominic is right. She feels it's so wrong. She's like, Dominic is Eric's best friend and I'm his wife, nothing. Not even 4 years of life without him would change those facts. She's ready to date again. I mean, it's done on her, but it's not dumb, she's going to date. But the moment Mal says, hey, I'm going to help you, you want to date again, that's great news. So the self-loathing and guilt she's feeling about, oh, I'm ready to date again, disappears at that Mal's approval. So next thing, Sloane meets with James. James is throwing a tantrum about a fixture they already agreed on. You know, he's a high maintenance client. She feels that he's throwing this tantrum because she had gently informed him earlier that nothing can happen between them other than a professional relationship. They have this face-off, that is Sloane and James, in a room where Dominic and some of his guys are fixing up some things. After James leaves, has this tantrum and leaves, Dom's guys leave. So it's kind of only her and Dom in the room. Sloane now tells him that I think James might have just been triggered because I told him nothing's going to happen between us. So to this, Dom now replies, you think a man could know how your lips taste and not be mad about being told he'll never get to have that again? So she's like, and his feelings are my problem? That seems a little unfair considering I never offered them to him in the first place. So at this, Dom's eyebrows raise and his expression goes from dark anger to genuine surprise. He actually really thought Sloane and James were an item, that maybe they had something going on. He now said, men who take things from you without your permission don't deserve the next breath, let alone your consideration. She now says, does that include you? Dom answers, no, Sloane, that doesn't include me. She now says, it should. He says, why is that? What have I taken from you without your permission, Angel? That nickname, Angel, just so familiar, but she just can't place it. He now touches her mouth and says, well, I think you know that at its most basic level, friendship is about taking care of one another. And that's what I did on Saturday. I took care of you. It sounds so dirty. I took care of you on Saturday. And things end up getting heated between them because for some reason, they start kissing and heavy petting. She should stop him, but she doesn't have the heart to. That's until she comes, basically, without him even really touching her. Like, it's crazy. So when this fog clears from her head, this fog of loss, it makes her feel guilty. She starts crying. And she asks him not to call her Angel. Ask him to turn back so she can fix her clothes because her clothes get all twisted around and all that, their passion. He holds her in his arms and she cries before she pushes him off, wobbles her way on her high heels. He now texts Mal to check on her because he knows that she would not want him checking on her. So just to get off how awful her rejection feels after what should have been special, he focuses on working to get her out of his head because he saw the regret on her face and it pains him so friggin' much. Okay, Nibur, we'll continue from here next episode because it's so obvious that Dom has been gone for Sloane for so long, but she is still hung up on her husband because apparently he was such a good guy. And I think it's really hard when you are fighting the ghost of somebody who is such a good guy. And even from here, I was already feeling so bad for Dom. Well, let's see what happens next. She is obviously attracted to this guy and she doesn't want to give him a chance. The whole husband's best friend thing hanging over both of them. So let's kind of see what comes up next. And thank you so much for actually being with me on the story. And this is the third time I recorded this. I recorded this like a legit 2 times and I was interrupted. And I was just like so frustrated. But I'm like, okay, let's give it one more shot. Let's go. And this is the results that you're hearing. Please don't forget to share this podcast with someone. Please leave a review. Please tell someone about it. Again. Especially people who like stories, especially romance stories. I'll see you next time, Nibber. Bye.